G'day, Kumne2000 here. I'm back with another Borderlands 3 build video, as today I'm going to be going over the face Bashin Boyo build, my Mayhem 10 melee Zane build. This build revolves around using the face puncher, the clone and the barrier for stupid amounts of damage and some really good survivability. And you can do both the Guardian takedown and the Malawan takedown solo with this build. And not only that, you can do it quite easily. I'll leave timestamps in the description as well as on screen right now for you to jump to different parts of the build. And before I continue on, I just want to give a shout out to Subpar Lover for coming up with the name Face Bashin Boyo. I really liked the name and he helped out. So I'll leave a link in the description to his YouTube channel, as he's a fellow Australian Borderlands content creator. He also does a bunch of other games, but you know, this is a Borderlands video, you know, he does Borderlands shit. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's just jump into this. So starting with the skills, I'll quickly scroll over each of the skill trees, so feel free to pause the video and just screenshot each of the trees for future reference. As you can see, I primarily spent most of the points in the blue tree and then evenly spread the rest in the orange and green tree. And I also grabbed the clone and the barrier as our action skills. So starting with the blue tree, we've got 5 points in violent momentum. You gain increased gun damage the quicker you're moving. Very good. Violent speed. Whenever you kill an enemy, you gain increased movement speed. Now, with Zane, most of his kill skills have the ability to stack twice, which is really cool. Next, we've got 4 points in the cool hand. This gives you increased reload speed, and when you kill an enemy, you gain increased even more reload speed. Yes, we're going to work with that. Next, we've got 1 point in salvation. Killing an enemy will give your weapons lifesteal. The face puncher does not work with this skill, unfortunately, but the digiclone does work with this skill, so the digiclone is going to proc salvation for us and give us lifesteal, and in turn keep himself alive a little bit. So this is really important to have either way. Even though we can't personally proc it ourselves, we've got the digiclone to do that for us. Next, we've got 1 point into Death Follows Close. All of Zane's kill skills gain increased effect and duration. Very handy since we've got a lot of kill skills. Next, we've got 4 points in Violent Violence. You gain increased fire rate after killing an enemy. Good for DPS. Next, we've got Playing Dirty. Killing an enemy, your next 5 shots have a chance to fire an additional projectile. A little bit of free damage never hurts. Next, we've got 2 points in Good Misfortune. Whenever you kill an enemy, you gain increased action skill duration. And this, combined with the Seeing Dead class mod, will keep our action skills up 24/7 basically. Very, very good skill to have. Lastly, we've got Seeing Red. Activating an action skill automatically activates all of Zane's kill skills. Fuck, that is a mouthful. But yeah, this is really good to have for boss fights and just starting fights period, as you'll be able to just throw down both your action skills and be able to trigger all your kill skills and be fully powered up and ready to go. Alright, so moving on to the orange tree, we've got 5 points in Borrowed Time. You gain increased action skill duration for every active action skill. Fuck, I cannot speak. Sorry. But yeah, this is just good for keeping our action skills up for even longer. Next, we've got Synchronicity. You gain increased gun damage for every active action skill. Just nice to have, and more damage, why not? Next, we've got 5 points in Donnybrook. Whenever you kill an enemy, you and your digiclone get bonus gun damage and health regen. This is really good to have, as it gives you quite a bit of gun damage. Next, we've got Fractal Frags. The digiclone can throw you a copy of your grenade when it's first activated, and whenever you kill an enemy while the clone is active, the clone has a chance to throw a grenade. This is nice to have if you've got a grenade that's like good for keeping you for anything, because if you've got a grenade that's good for survivability, then it's going to help you survive more. If you've got a grenade that does decent damage, then it's free damage. So yeah, good. Next, we've got Quick Breather. Whenever you swap places with the clone, his shield immediately starts recharging and you restore a portion of the clone's health. This is good for keeping your clone up, as the clone with this setup is a little on the squishier side, as he doesn't have anything to boost his health or his damage output. So this will help keep him alive and determine, because we want him to stay alive when we want him to be alive. The only time he's supposed to be dead is when we want him to be dead. So this skill will help out with that. Old You. Whenever you're in fight for your life and the clone is active, you can destroy it to get a 3-second wind. This is nice as a little bit of a, a get out of jail free card. As I mentioned, we're using the Digiclone. You can just activate a Digiclone of yourself and it's there to distract enemies and shoot at enemies. And that's really good because it will proc Salvation, give us lifesteal, and keep a little bit of heat off ourselves, which is always nice. The augments we're using are Schadenfreude. Whenever the clone takes damage, a portion of your shield is restored depending on how much damage the clone takes, which is pretty handy. Then we've also got Doppelbanger. You'll be able to end the clone's action skill early and will cause it to also explode, dealing damage. This is really good to proc action skill end anointments, which will give us even more damage. So yeah, when the clone is destroyed, you get a little bit extra damage from anointments, but when it's alive, you get lifesteal and you're more or less likely to die. So yeah, good things all round. Lastly, with the green tree, 5 points into adrenaline. You gain increased action skill cooldown rate the more shields you have. This is really important to have because especially if you want to, blow the clone up to get more damage, as you want the clone back as often as possible so you can continue blowing it up to get more damage, or if it dies on you, to get it back quickly so you don't have a lifesteal way for too long. That's an important thing to have. Next, we've got 5 points in the ready for action. You gain increased shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay, all good things. 1 point into rise to the occasion. You gain health regeneration the lower your shield is, just to get down the skill tree. Stiff upper lip. Whenever you're damaged, you gain damage resistance against the damage type that hit you. So this is a little bit of nice survivability, but it's here because none of the skills are really useful. 1 point into confident competence. When your shields are active, you get increased gun damage and accuracy. The more for your shields, the more damage and accuracy you get. Very handy. Lastly, we've got really expensive jacket, not fully expensive jacket. Elemental status effects applied to Zane have reduced duration. If a status effect hits you, it's going to hurt your shields, and you want your shields to be full all the time. So if you get hit by a status effect duration, the status effect is going to last for less time, and meaning your shield can start recharging much quicker. Very good to have. As I mentioned, we're carrying the barrier as well. The barrier is basically just a shield that stops the bullets, you can walk through it, and when you shoot through it, you deal more damage. And you can pick it up, like right shield style, which is pretty cool. The augments we have is all-rounder. The barrier turns from a shield into a dome and protects you from all angles, so you can't be shot in the back or above or below, and nothing's going to hurt you most of the time. This does increase the cooldown rate of the barrier, but that's not a big issue. The other augment we have is Deterrence Field. Enemies that touch the barrier take shock damage and are staggered. The stagger part is really good, as if you could just walk into an enemy, they stagger, and you can also put it into a infinite stagger loop as you just keep walking into them and they keep staggering. Meaning you can basically control a lot of enemies, and enemies that need to attack you with melee attacks, they can't really do shit against you, as they're going to be stunned for a few seconds, and yeah, in that time you'll notice that someone's walked up to you that close, you'll back up and you'll shoot them dead and they won't have done anything. This is just a really good thing to have, and it's actually, I really think more people should be using Deterrence Field. So most people don't go this far down the skill tree because, yeah, all you need is all-rounder. But Deterrence Field, something really, really good to have, trust me on this one. So yeah, that's basically everything for the skills. So going over the gear, we've got the Face Puncher. Face Puncher is a shotgun that scales off melee damage and it deals melee attacks as it shots. So when you shoot an enemy, if you've got an artifact that requires you to do a melee attack, you'll be able to trigger those effects from shooting an enemy. And it's a really, really good gun actually. It's become one of the best weapons in the game. I might make a video on it a little later down the track and explain why it's the best weapon, one of the best weapons in the game, but just note that this weapon scales with melee damage, it deals melee attacks as it shots, and it's really good. Now, with Zane, you don't have any skills that boost melee damage, so you're not going to really be able to do much with that, besides, bonus stats on you know, shields, artifacts, and your class mods. But the face puncher does still scale off weapon damage, so you can boost the weapon damage and boost the damage of the face puncher by a decent amount. Plus, with one of the recent patches, melee damage now scales with Mayhem level, so if you play on Mayhem 10, the face puncher is going to deal more damage because melee does more damage, so that's something worth noting. For the shield, we're using the Stinger. The Stinger is a melee shield that, while it's full, gives you bonus melee damage. For any other melee build, this is completely retarded, as, you know, you're up close and personal with enemies, your shield is never going to be full. With Zane though, we've got the barrier, and we'll be able to keep his shields up all the time, meaning we get 50% melee damage and plus 50% more damage for the face puncher, pretty much all the time, so long as you can keep that shield up. And we've got skills to help keep the shield get back up to full quickly. So it's a really decent shield for this build. As for the grenade, you can rock whatever you want. The Hex, its Pierce, Transfusion Grenades, all good options. For the class mod, the Seeing Dead is the class mod we're using. The Seeing Dead, whenever you shoot an enemy, it has a chance to automatically activate all your kill skills. And all your kill skills gain a 25% increased effect bonus, which is really handy. The skills you want primarily are as many points into Donnybrook as possible for most damage, but the big thing here is you want bonus melee damage on the class mod. If you can do that, then the face puncher is going to do quite a bit of extra damage. One thing that's worth mentioning is that the Seeing Dead is exclusive to the Handsome Jackpot DLC or DLC 1. So if you don't have any DLC, then unfortunately you don't have access to this class mod. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but not much you can do there. Now I should mention that the Stinger is obtained from the Guardian takedown, so that can also be a little bit of a bitch to get, but you don't need DLC to get this thing. As for the artifact, you want a static charge. The static charge gives you your melee's bonus shock damage, and when you slide around, you build up some static charge, causing your melee attacks to deal attacks to chain to nearby enemies. Kind of like the Brainstormer, but in melee form. The more you slide around, the more damage those chains do. So that's something worth noting. So you can just slide around a lot, get chains to do a decent amount of damage. But we're not really worried about that. The fact that it chains and we get bonus shock damage means we can turn the face puncher into a Brainstormer, which means we can also use those chains to proc the Seeing Dead class mod, which means we proc Good Misfortune, which means our kill skills are always going to be up, which means our action skills are always going to be up, which means we're going to be having a lot of, we're going to have a lot of survivability all the time and a lot of damage all the time. Very, very handy. As for the effect on it, go with an elemental stone. I've got radiation on mine. Basically, this will give this imbues your melee attacks with a certain element and gives you bonus damage. And that's a really good thing because that's more damage for a face puncher. The last thing you'd want is a cut purse artifact. The reason you want a cut purse artifact is to switch to it whenever you're running low on ammo. So if you got a cut purse artifact, switch to it, shoot an enemy once or twice, and you get all your ammo back because you steal ammo from meleeing enemies with a cut purse. Face puncher does melee attacks, so it steals ammo at a range. And you're hitting 7 bullets, which is 7 melee attacks, which means you're getting a lot of ammo back. So yeah, keep that on hand so you can easily get ammo back and not have to worry about realizing you're like, oh shit, I'm out of ammo. Yeah. So yeah, that does it for the gear actually. One thing I should mention though is the anointments. For the shield and grenades, go with action skill and bonus elemental damage, and make sure the elements are different. So have something like cryo and corrosive, for example. Can't have 2 cryo or 2 corrosive as that doesn't stack. Make sure they're different elements. As for the face puncher, while action skill is active, 200% weapon damage is a good option. Next 2 mags on action skill and having bonus elemental damage is a good option. Consecutive hits is kind of like your last decent option, but you don't need to worry about too much with anointments with the face puncher. You can work without it. you just won't do as much damage. So yeah, that wraps up everything for the gear. Lastly, let's go over the Mayhem modifiers I use. I use Speed Demon, Healy Avenger, Drone Ranger, and Not the Face. Speed Demon gives you increased movement speed whenever you kill an enemy, and you can get this effect stacked up to 3 times, which is really cool. With more speed, the more speed you have, the more you'll be able to utilize Violent Momentum to get more damage. Plus, you'll be able to move around really fast, which is always fun. Plus, you can also use the Speed Demon and Zane's increased movement speed to be able to do certain skips that you can make it where you can do the Guardian takedown and the Melon takedown even faster, which is really cool. Healy Avenger makes it where a heart-shaped drone thing will pop out of enemies occasionally, that if it touches an enemy it will heal them completely, or if you kill it, it will drop health and shield boosters if destroyed. You'll be killing enemies quicker than the Healy Avenger drone thing will touch enemies, so you're not going to see enemies get healed often if you're paying attention. Plus, you could always shoot it just to get some health and shields, which is always a good thing. And basically it is a modifier that doesn't affect the game too much. Drone Ranger is pretty much the same idea as Healy Avenger, but instead of a heart-shaped drone that when it touches an enemy completely heals them, this is just a drone that will always be around and will just give enemies passive healing all the time, unless destroyed. The passive healing on these drones is actually really low, and you won't notice it actually doing much unless you've got 3 drones on an enemy that has really low health, that's got really small amount of health. And again, you'll kill enemies quicker than the drones can actually do anything, so it's not really a big issue. Lastly, we've got Not the Face. Critical hit damage is reduced by 75%. Now, as I mentioned before, the Face Puncher can't actually do critical hits, so this effectively is a modifier that has no effect on us whatsoever. Face Puncher can't hit crits, so you do less critical hit damage. You already did 0 critical hit damage to begin with, so this basically is a modifier that does absolutely nothing to change the game. And with this modifier setup, you'll be able to, this basically makes it where the game's not really being altered because of the Mayhem modifiers, which some Mayhem modifiers actually change how you play the game, which can be quite annoying. But yeah, this is pretty much what I recommend trying to get and try roll. Just be warned that it might take you a while or some stupid luck to get this set, because I'm currently at this point in time, you can't select each modifier individually. You have to re-roll it and get lucky, which I really hope changes in the future. So yeah, that wraps up about everything for this build. The clone is going to act as your lifesteal skill ability man, as he's going to keep you alive when he's up. The barrier is going to make sure you're even more safe and keep your shields up so you get more damage. If you want a little bit of extra damage at the cost of some survivability, destroy your clone whenever you want to get a bit of boost of damage, and keep your shields up as full as possible so your active skills come back quickly. And just go to town killing everything with a shotgun that's based on melee damage with a character that doesn't have anything to do with melee. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and yeah, comment down below what you think of this build. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.